What's up, guys? How you doing? It's Pack Drip. This is Drip Drop episode 2, and right now we are gonna get into more trades. We gotta cover trades because the trades they haven't really happened yet. We want them to happen, and this stream is all about the NBA trades. So, with that being said, how do you zoom? You guys gotta teach me this stuff. I feel like I'm a real rook when it comes to this StreamYard stuff, but I'm glad you guys are here because we have a good stream tonight. Kind of chill. Had some plans. A couple people bailed, but it's fine. So I got Mets coming through. We're gonna talk some Top Shot. We're gonna talk some trades, some NBA stuff. But what really matters is these trades, which we got to get into. So to start it off, we are gonna kick it off early. No like icebreakers, no nothing. Just getting strictly to the business. So right now we got San Antonio and then Indy. I always like to kick it off with something spicy, something to get, someone's eyebrow sweating a little. So, what I'm going to do is propose the Lakers trade for Miles Turner and Josh Richardson. I feel like these are guys you want to put next to LeBron, guys that will benefit and help LeBron be a better player, be a better version of himself, and also them being the best versions of themselves in their roles. Um, with that being said, the Spurs would get a contract dump in Russell Westbrook, and then also Indy would get a big that potentially would want to be there for the long haul. So you have 1 year contracts right now with Miles Turner and Jakob Pertl, also Russell Westbrook. These are basically all loaners, all rental players, as they say. Um, and from there, I think teams take a chance because the Spurs right now only got Jakob Pertl on a 1 year deal. The Pacers right now only got Turner on a 1 year deal. So what are you doing? You want to who do you want to finish the end of the season with? That's basically the premise of this whole story. And I think the Spurs will get the most out of having Russell Westbrook kind of man the ship. He could take a lot of days off. They could do what Houston did to not to Russell, to John Wall, because John Wall kind of they think he hit that proverbial wall in his career, and they just benched him. They're like, listen, we got young guys. We don't want you taking minutes, eating up all the shots. We want guys to grow. With the Spurs, it might be a different story. Who knows what Pop really wants to do? It could be a little tankier. It could be a way that you put a real all NBA pro next to these guys and see what they actually look like then. And I think that's a really good way to get an assessment of players. And Pop could be doing that. Pop also could be on the way out and trying to pass down the next regime. I think this works out for all parties. Lakers get some 3-point shooting. The Spurs can they could give Trey Jones a break because he plays like 40 minutes a night and he's just manning the ship himself. And then the Pacers, they get, like I said, maybe a big for the future. He's not as athletic or can shoot as well as Miles Turner, but this is someone that could potentially actually want to stay in Indiana. Who knows? But we're going to move on to the next one. I got another Indiana trade. So let's take out all of this. And someone that we could line up with Indiana. It would be very interesting. Hear me out. Ben Simmons. And where is he? Royce O'Neal for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. So this is a trade that has been rumored and thought to be the Lakers trade. But could the Brooklyn Nets come in and steal the deal? I think there's a chance. I do. I think there's a small chance, but I think there's a chance because Ben Simmons has a very big contract. It's not as movable, but if you have a franchise that is willing to part ways with Miles Turner, they know they're not going to resign him, and Ben Simmons is signed to a longer deal. He is a top pedigree player. And I could get into my whole pedigree theory and everything else, but you have Ben Simmons, who is that guy, someone who is a former number 1 overall pick. You have that type of talent. You have that type of pedigree. Every team in the whole draft wanted him first. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is once a guy who was heralded. Granted, we know his limitations now. But With that being said, you have Miles Turner who is on his way out. You have Buddy Hield manning a role that isn't going to be his for the foreseeable future. What I see is you got Chris Duarte and you got Benedict Mathurin there at the two. And the problem is Buddy Hield is there and he's signed for another couple of years and he's eating a lot of contract space. Chris Duarte, he's 25, going on 26. Even though he was an all rookie at 24, it's a different story. I think Duarte's closer to his peak than Benedict Mathurin is. So I think Duarte will be an incredible six-man second unit guy. But Mathurin is the guy of the future. And as long as you have Buddy Hield there, clogging up 30 minutes a game, taking 20 shots a game, Benedict Mathurin will never get to his full peak. And I think they want to see something out of him. You got Benedict Mathurin, who I believe is 12th in the NBA in free throw attempts, which is absolutely insane because he's a sixth man and a rookie, and he's damn near top 10 in the free throws. So you already got refs giving him a little bit of a whistle. He also knows how to create a lot of contact through the lane. I like Benedict Mathurin. I've been saying this. I've been on other pods. I've said it on my pod. I've said it prior to the draft. I am a huge fan of Benedict Mathurin. Um, there's many reasons, and one is because this guy has been preparing to be a professional since he was 15 years old. He moved from Canada. He's a Haitian immigrant. His family immigrated to Canada, and then from there, he got all these offers and scholarships and everything else when he was 15. And you know what he did? Instead of staying in Canada or preparing to go to college or moving to the United States, go to a prep school like a lot of international players do, they try to slide in for a year and do what they can. What he did was he moved to Mexico and went to the NBA's Mexican Academy. And he stayed in Mexico for all of his time until getting to Arizona, going to college there, and doing a one and done and being out. So you got a guy who has been preparing and is kind of been not chosen, but you have a guy who's been there. He's not the average rookie. The average rookie has been grinding and maybe a couple years in college and everything else. I mean, there's a lot of one and dones in the front of the draft, but the draft is very loaded with people who have repeated at least 1 year of college. And like I said, Benedict Mathurin is coming in as not the average or typical rookie, and I think there needs to be space for him. I think this is a trade. Obviously, there would be picks going to the Pacers. Don't get me wrong. This isn't clean swap, but this does work. It's a trade that does work, and I think it would benefit the Nets. But at the same time, Nick Claxton has been on a whole nother level than what we think of Nick Claxton. I'm a huge fan of his game this season. I think the other night he put up like 25 and 14, 3 blocks, somewhere close to this stat line, to where I believe he actually can be the solution for the Nets long term. They don't need to replace him. I guess if they want more shooting and everything, and he would be a great energy big off the bench. Oh my God, Nick Claxton would probably be one of the best bigs off the bench in the entire league. I could say, you know what? I just thought of something. This one I didn't really draw up, but let's explore. So Jakob Pertl. Let's say the Nets want another big because they don't really have much options at the big. I don't like Day'Ron Sharp at all. The guy could barely dunk, and he's 6'10". He's lost a lot of weight, and he's got super skinny in order to try to get lighter. But that guy does not have quick feet. And what I like doing is going to Las Vegas for the summer league, and I scout some of these guys. Obviously I'm not an NBA scout, whatever, but I take my own personal work a little serious. And everything that I've seen from Day'Ron Sharp in summer league is he cannot slide his feet on a pick and roll with guys coming out of college. He is not a playoff player. That's something I learned immediately when I seen Day'Ron Sharp in person. He could barely catch a lob. He gets rim stuffed on dunks. He's just like not a big that I would ever want on my squad. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. But like I said, he cannot slide his feet on pick and rolls. And if you want to go deep into the playoffs like the Brooklyn Nets do, he's going to get played off the court. He's not even somebody who could get minutes. Jakob Pertl is a little bit different because of his passing ability and all the other intangibles he brings. I think he's got a lot of vet moves. He's not the best free throw shooter, but let's say the Brooklyn Nets want a big. Either they bench Pirtle and give him like 20 minutes off the bench, and Nick Claxton is getting the remainder at the center spot, or they bench Nick Claxton and put Jakob Pirtle in. I would prefer them to keep Claxton. I like Clax for what he does, and they're an up-tempo team. So I think with the second unit, Jakob Pirtle would be better. He'd be the better fit and offer a lot of stability in that second unit. So who would I trade? Jakob Pirtle to the Spurs. I think I did this trade or somewhat similar to it in the last stream. But we got Patty Mills and Cam Thomas potentially because, as I said, the Spurs are running Trey Jones ragged. Like they are running him down to the bone because I mean he's young, but he's like the only point guard there. Branham is starting to play more and get a little bit more minutes, and Blake Wesley is somebody that they really haven't given the keys to either. He was a one and done guy out of Notre Dame, and he shot about 40% from the field in college. Wasn't the best scorer. Even though he's an offensive guy, about 6'4", 6'5" point guard, really quick, really rangy, a lot of potential because a lot of guys built like that do have a lot of potential, especially with the coordination he has. But I think Cam Thomas would bring a scoring punch that the Spurs don't have, and also you're getting some guard depth. Like I said, I don't believe they truly have guard depth. Their guard depth is Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, and Blake Wesley, who plays in the G League. They don't have much guys. They truly don't. They brought in Romeo Langford, and I'm just not a fan of Romeo Langford's game. Just is what it is. And he's a decent player, but I don't think he's efficient enough, nor has the best decision making. So this would add to the Spurs' deficiencies, and I think this would also help the Brooklyn Nets deficiencies, which is the paint. And the Spurs need guards. Nets guard deficient. Actually, no, Spurs are guard deficient. The Brooklyn Nets are not. They have way too many guards, way too much. So you have nights where Patty Mills doesn't touch the court or Cam Thomas. Seth Curry even has had his struggles touching the court. Edmund Sumner could play a lot of positions. David Duke Jr. they've played a little bit, but he's spotty. Same with Cam Thomas. They don't know when to play him, when to not. So this could be a fair split. They get a player of the future in the Spurs. Brooklyn Nets get a big. I got a fun one here. We're to go to the Golden State Warriors and then Dallas. So we got Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie. And what was I doing here? All right. This is madness, but the trade works. So Lakers got a steal. What about Jordan Clarkson? Do you think the Jazz could trade him? All right, I'm getting to the chat. You guys got to remember, this is one of my first streams, so I gotta realize how to talk with the chat. Make sure I check in with you guys. So when you say, "What about Jordan Clarkson? Do you think the Jazz could trade him?" We'll get to a Jordan Clarkson trade. How do you feel about Rui going to LA, given his inconsistency? Let's jump to that right now, so this would be Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr. for Klay Thompson. I would say plus a first. So Dallas would be giving a first, obviously. Here, let's get off of this. Go to the trade of today. I don't know if they updated it yet and we'll be able to trade. Yeah, Kendrick Nunn and Rui. So this trade obviously works with the trade machine because the trade actually happened. The Lakers traded Kendrick Nunn and two second-round picks and a pick swap. So it's been rumored that it's three picks. It's 2 second-rounders, and then the Washington Lakers get the pick swap at the last one. So basically 3 second-rounders, if you just want to sum it up. I think this trade was pretty good for the Lakers. They get more offense. Rui has been an inconsistent player. He's not really the defensive guy. He's also not like a big-time three-point shooter either. I think he's a good within the stripe player, kind of like how, not the same, definitely not saying they're the same player, but if you understand why Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is good, he really knows how to operate within the 3-point line. Incredible at it. Same with Rui. Rui, in his own way, obviously not a 30-point a game MVP caliber player, but he stays within the 2-point line, and that's where his game is. He's a mid-range, take it to the cup type of guy. He likes the close mid-range shots. I think he'll play pretty well with LeBron and AD. Got to figure out how that all works, because I feel like he's in the same boat that Kuzma was a long time ago, to where Kuzma got shipped out of Los Angeles, all because he couldn't really fit with LeBron. And I'm not so sure Rui fits with LeBron the best either. And it's ironic that he was Kuzma's running mate, because they're kind of the same guy. I'd say Kuzma is way better offensively, but Rui is like a Kuzma light. And I just don't know if that's going to work, but it is better than Kendrick Nunn, because Kendrick Nunn has not been good for 2 years. And also, he can't shoot a lick. Let's just call it for what it is. He can't shoot. The Lakers have way too much guard depth. This is the same thing I was saying about the Nets. Let me go back, adjust trade, and we'll look at this Lakers roster. Russell Westbrook, point guard. LeBron James, point guard. Patrick Beverley, point guard. Kendrick Nunn, point guard. Dennis Schroeder, point guard. Austin Reeves, damn near point guard. Even Scottie Pippen Jr., when he's out there, he's running the offense. So you have 8 guys who are genuinely trying to run the offense. I don't think that's going to work. You got to have guys doing other things. And they have a lot of guys who are ball handlers but can't shoot at all, can't shoot off the dribble, can't shoot set. So there's some problems there. And I think that the Lakers actually fixed, not fixed. I should find another word for that. But let's just say fixed one issue. The issue in Kendrick Nunn. I'm going to go back to my pedigree talk, because the same way I was saying how I like Ben Simmons for the trade and everything else, because Ben Simmons was a first round pick. He was once a guy who was the man amongst boys in his draft. He was the guy of the draft, which means he is of an elite caliber and pedigree of athleticism. And when you have a guy like Kendrick Nunn who goes undrafted, and then he also has domestic violence issues and was stuck in the G League for years, that's not really a guy that you want to hold on to long term, build a championship roster with, and keep a sound locker room, save face publicly. There's a bunch of things. And I think Kendrick Nunn doesn't really represent anything that LeBron truly wants to do. So it's a win getting him out of here. You get a guy in Rui Hachimura who also is Japanese, and boom, California is the closest state other than Hawaii to Japan. So I believe there's also like a little international flair you're getting there. The Japanese fans, the game is international. Nobody knows the Lakers. Nobody knows an NBA logo like the Lakers and the Celtics, and maybe the Bulls. You got the 3 most popular teams in the world, and now Rui Hachimura, a Japanese player, is now on the Lakers. He's very prideful of his Japanese heritage and everything. And I think they'll be able to do something with that. Jeremy Lin even had some flair in LA when it happened. You know, a lot of closest to Asian countries. You're gonna get a lot of Asian supporters. It's coastal. Everything about it, I think, is a really good business move. Plus, he's young, hungry. He's in a contract year. Kendrick Nunn is in a contract year, but like, he's going to be playing for a vet minimum somewhere next year. Rui is coming off his rookie deal and is looking for a rookie extension, if not signing in unrestricted free agency, which he may do. He may not resign with the Lakers. I don't even know if they'll have contract room. It all depends on what they do next season and who they make a trade for with Russell Westbrook, if they keep him. Everything is kind of contingent on that. But with Rui, you have a promise for the future. Kendrick Nunn has peaked, and he's actually on his way down. And his peak game isn't still a top 20 point guard in the league. So if you have a guy whose peak is gone and he's still not a starting caliber player, and everything else that he has done, I think it's a good move. They give up 3 second-round picks. The Wizards have never done anything special in the second round, especially in recent years. I don't think they could draft at all. If they hired me, I think they'd be better off. I wouldn't have drafted Johnny Davis. I'll tell you that much. Which speaks to another pedigree guy, Johnny Davis was a 2-star recruit. Not saying anything about those guys. You could bust your ass and be a 1 to 2-star recruit, but it's all about ceiling. And how high will Johnny Davis actually go in his ceiling when you are a 2-star recruit and as a freshman you barely played and then people got hurt, transferred, coaching stuff. There was this whole transfer portal thing. There was everything going on with Johnny Davis in college to the point where he was like the star player and he just like woke up one day and fell into a starting spot. And somebody's got to take those shots. Somebody's got to put up the attempts when they're out there. So something about Johnny Davis never sat right with me. I would have never touched him with a 10-foot pole. I don't even know if I would have drafted him in the second round. Just being honest. I think he got hurt a lot. He played super physical. He's a little bit like he's like a football player. Like he really is. He goes out there and plays overly aggressive. I think he doesn't have a full handle on the ball. He plays aggressive on defense. It's sloppy. It's gonna get someone hurt. Like it gets himself hurt. Not a big Johnny Davis guy. So who knows what they're going to do? I think the best second round draft pick that the Wizards have done in the past 10 years is Vit Krejci. Vit Krejci. My God. And if Vit Krejci is your best pick in the last 10 years, you should probably look for a new guy, talent wise, who's drafting. You need new scouts. Anyway, so did this Kendrick rob you blind? None. You damn right, Kendrick. Oh, King Neptune. I just realized who King Neptune 420 is. It just dawned on me. What do you think about Jordan Clarkson? Let me get to that. I got you, King Neptune. So we got the Jazz. Let me put them into the trade portal. Where's Utah? Here's Utah. So Jordan Clarkson, very tradable contract. I wonder where he could go. And when I look around and look for teams that maybe want some playoff scoring, playoff scoring from the guard position. Interesting. Very interesting. I think there's some options. Um, let's try one with Milwaukee. Let's do like 5 different trades with Jordan Clarkson. Let's get weird if we have to. With this, I know the Bucks are loaded up on picks. I wonder if you could do like a Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton trade. The salaries match up. You got 14 mil, 13 mil. It would be something like this, and I think that the Bucks obviously would have to trade a first. Jordan Clarkson has been lights out this year, damn near all-star candidate. That's how good he's been. But we do know Jordan Clarkson, what he'll revert back to on a team that is also surrounded by stars and higher caliber players. He's a scoring option. Great, either a 6-man or maybe even in a lineup where there's a lot of defense and they need some shot creation. I think here they give up a first. Milwaukee could swing something like this. If not, maybe you combine them. You grab a Michael Beasley and you trade away Chris Middleton. I don't think this works. I think there's too much contract. What do you need? Another 2 mil coming from Utah? So let's say you do something like this, right? Where you give a Pat Connaughton and on the way back coming for the Celtics, you pick up Azubuike. Cut $4 million from the Jazz. Oh, there's way too much money coming into the Jazz. I think that's what it was. But you need somebody. So Surge, let's try this. 800,000. God. I don't think they would trade their first pick. I don't think they would give up Akbaji. Maybe let's try it. So if they gave up Akbaji, I would say that the Bucks would have to give at least 2 firsts. I know Middleton is a 2-time All-Star, but with this move, I think, like I said, we could get crazy, we could get weird, we could talk about hypotheticals, we could talk about trades that don't even exist or won't happen. With this, you're getting guys who are like kind of on their way out. If they could grab some first-round picks, I think with this, Danny Ainge would milk at least 3 firsts, especially out of the Bucks. I don't know. Let's take him out of the Bucks. Who else could be over here? You could have some Miami action. I think Clarkson would probably like that. Go to a better climate. What could you do right here? So you do Beasley, try to get Duncan Robinson. You would have to trade like a guy of the future. And I think it's tough. That's real tough. I wonder if Jovic would be enough. And then you throw in like another salary guy. You throw in somebody like a Victor Oladipo into this, and Ainge maybe likes Jovic, but Heat would also give some picks. All right, that works. Now we could talk about it. So Michael Beasley, he's a pretty good set 3-point shooter. I feel like this season he's really become a set 3-point shooter. Last year he was trying to create a little bit, and he's doing a little bit less of that this year. I feel like he's buying into his role. He's buying into the coach of Will Hardy, the new coach from he was an assistant with the Celtics, came over with and Danny Ainge brought him in. This is a possibility. I wouldn't rule it out. Let's go through this line. We'll do a couple more, and then I got some actual trades lined up that I've done the research on, and I think is possible. Um, Jordan Clarkson could potentially go here. Let's say like Poole is on the BS. Poole is re-signed. I've had one issue with this trade machine, and it's Jordan Poole's contract. It's not 1 year, 3 million. He re-signed his deal for over 100 million before. Not too sure why it's not listed. Um, but let's say they make some moves, right? Let's say they make a move for some future picks. You do something like this. You give up Wiseman and Moody. They don't got any bad contract guys. This is actually tough. You throw in Ty Jerome. Yeah, I don't think they got the move for that. I think it will be somewhere near this. It would be like cut your losses on Wiseman, and then they're buying in on Moses Moody. And the Warriors, it's either they want that like smooth transition. Well, they talked about a smooth transition. It didn't really happen as that. You get a win now piece, and I think this would actually help. The thing is Jordan Poole. I think it would have to be a bigger trade. Like I just feel like in my heart of hearts, they wouldn't get Jordan Clarkson to match with Jordan Poole. It would be something different. But I think the Utah Jazz would like something in this realm. I'm just not sure like who else or how else to get there. It could be a 3-teamer, and I'm really good at these 3-4 team trades. I just gotta kind of get a little bit more time and study the contracts, study teams that could want a Jordan Clarkson or some sort of contract dump. So maybe we'll come back to the Utah stuff. If Jordan Clarkson trade like naturally comes to us, we'll talk about it. But one I have right now, and this is the different LA team that could be making a trade for Jay Crowder, and it is the Clippers. So we got Jay Crowder and Landry Shamet coming over, and Landry Shamet was decent for the Clippers back in the day. He makes a little comeback. You get rid of Reggie Jackson, Amir Coffey, and Jason Preston. So with this, you get some Clipper guys. I mean, Amir Coffey is definitely Clip Gang. He's like born and raised as a Clipper, and I like what he brings. But another guy who's just like not a pedigree guy, wasn't the top of his draft class, wasn't anywhere close, and I think that he just needs to get on out of there, to be honest. I think Jay Crowder and Landry Shamet are going to bring something different and actually help Kawhi and Paul George. because Amir Coffey can't. Amir Coffey's a guy you put out there to get buckets, and he's just not going to make anyone better around him. And Reggie Jackson, I mean, he's not shot well. He's played selfish. He's also played kind of weird because John Wall's breathing down his neck, and then John Wall's like not even explosive or attacking or anything. Like John Wall was the fastest guy in the NBA, and now if you give him the ball, your offense will move the slowest in the NBA because he's just so kind of calculated. He knows he lost a step. He's trying to do a little bit extra, play more mind games. And when you're coming off the bench and doing what he's doing with the units that they have, it's just not the move. So I think Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet, you're getting more shooting, and that's what they need. They need a lot more shooting. Terrence Mann is running the point. You also have Norman Powell running the point at times. If you still keep John Wall, you don't need Reggie Jackson. If you have all these other guys running, you have Paul George who brings up the rock. You got Kawhi who brings up the rock sometimes and creates. I don't think they need a Reggie Jackson around. So you get Jay Crowder, space, plays tough defense, hard nose, playoff guy. Get Landry Shamet. He's kind of on a little bit of a long deal, but it's also a tradable contract because these $10 million contracts they just pop up like candy and everyone just trades for each other in the NBA. So if he's got a slightly under $10 million deal, he could always be packaged with somebody else or dumped for somebody else. So I think this trade can work, would work if they wanted to try it. Got some other ones. We got Brooklyn and Orlando. We got an Eastern Conference trade lined up. It would be Joe Harris, Patty Mills, and Cam Thomas for Terrence Ross and Mo Bamba. And this trade works. You get Terrence Ross, who's a little bit like J.R. Smith, to where he's just a heat check guy. And crazy three-point shooter. He's a human torch. I think that's what they call Terrence Ross, the human torch. And if he gets hot, it's wraps. So you get some shooting, more shooting in Brooklyn, and you also get it in a slightly different position because they have a lot of shooters, but they're all point guards. There's only so much point guards that could be out there on the court at once, and that's Brooklyn. That's problem. Excess shooting from the guard position, which is ironic. I know who wouldn't want excess shooting in the NBA, but the problem is you got 5 guys all playing the same position and do the same thing. So they need to spread the wealth out a little bit. They need to stack up in other places where they're deficient, and I think Terrence Ross helps them at the shooting guard small forward spot, the 2-3, and then Mo Bamba to back up Nick Claxton. He's already been a regular backup, and I'm pretty sure he's used to being a backup, to where if you were trading for Jakob Poeltl, there might be some starter bench problems because he may want to be a starter, and Nick Claxton has already earned that spot being there for so long and putting in the work that he has. So I think this is a potential spot. You get Orlando Magic, who are lacking point guards and creators. Cam Thomas is listed as a shooting guard. He's a point guard, shooting guard. Nice combo, 1-2 guy. You got Patty Mills, another point guard to bring there, which takes some load off RJ Hampton being the third point guard on the team, which I think would help a lot. They get a guard of the future because Cole Anthony is about 5'10". I mean, he's super athletic, obviously. He was dunking in Tim's and doing all the stuff that he does. But he does have a lot of defensive problems. He's just 5'10". Like, he's just 5'10" in the league, where you got a guy like Mo Bamba with an 8-foot wingspan, and he's 7'1". It just is what it is. So I don't think Cole Anthony has a long future as being the point guard, the starting point guard for the Orlando Magic. Trade for Cam Thomas. You got a guy who's 6'3". Patty Mills has been in the league for so long. He's proven himself. And then you got Joe Harris to add some shooting, some spacing. He could probably even play the 4 in Orlando because just of how the team is constructed and how everything is ran, because you have your forwards also running point. So there's a lot of mixture going on in Orlando. They have Bol. They got a lot of height, ton of height. Franz runs point sometimes. You got Paolo. Big team, but that's why I was saying they could use some extra guards and some more shooting. And let's move down to another trade I got. So this one works. Successful. What I got is Jeremy Grant, So we're gonna do some. This is a trade you definitely haven't heard of because this is some random stuff, but I think it could work. We'll try this trade. All right, double checking. Everything lines up. So you have Jeremy Grant, who is a rental essentially. I think Portland paid the price for him. He's played incredible. They already knew he was a rental guy. Hopefully he would resign, but they're not too sure about contracts and everything. You only have so much room on your cap. And Nurkic cannot slide his feet to save his life, honestly. He can't. He's not going to be good in the West in the playoffs. Not that I think Clint Capella is that much better. But what this does is it solidifies something. It brings in Clint Capella, who is a better shot blocker than Nurkic. Nurkic is very stationary. Not like I would say he's one of the least skilled defenders out of all starting centers in the entire NBA. And then you have John Collins, who really talented. I like what he offers. I don't think he could shoot as well as even his numbers say. Um, he hasn't shot good since he messed up his finger. If you look in the John Collins, look in the when he messed up his hand. It was some nasty picture, and I feel like he hasn't shot well since then. Um, but Portland trades for a guy who wants out. How many teams want John Collins? Not too sure. Let me read the chat real quick. You think Wizards got rid of Hachimura to give Denny more time since he's honestly, I think Denny does have a higher ceiling than Rui Hachimura. I seen Denny grab 20 boards the other day. He's a role player. He's never going to be a superstar. That's not Denny's thing. But he's not trying to be. I feel like he's out there trying to just be the best player he can be, if that makes sense. And he's not like he doesn't think he could be a superstar. He just goes out there and puts in work and does his job. And if he excels at it, great. That's what he wants to do, of course. But with Rui, I think Rui has aspirations of being like an all-star and a bigger player in this league, and maybe like not the face of the league, but a face in the league that people recognize and people know of as, oh yeah, that's Rui. He's one of the top guys. I don't think Denny has that want. All right. So yeah, this is a trade. It kind of shakes up the paint on both teams. Greg Brown barely even plays, so this is just a contract filler. Another young guy that the Hawks could just use off the bench. He's really good for lobs. He's really good for hustle, things like that. So if you put shooters and playmakers around him, Greg Brown goes in the dunker spot, and yeah, he'll just thrive in the dunker spot. He's not going to offer any spacing or anything. And he's also a top shot collector. So big shout out to Greg Brown the third. Yeah, so that's enough with this trade. Let's adjust. This is a big whammy. I hope y'all don't log out after this one. So I've done my research on this, and here you go. So it would be essentially both teams kind of just swapping their best guys. It looks a little crazy, but I think the Nets would have to give up at least 4 firsts, 4 first-round picks for this. Kevin Durant and Kyrie, from what I've heard and kind of what I believe, I think they're a package deal, at least for this year. I think they truly want to ride out a playoff run where they're both healthy together. They've never had that in the few years that they have been together. So this is the year. Either way, they want to stay together. If it's going to the Raptors, if it's staying in Brooklyn, if it is what it is. But this is a contract kind of lineup that I've seen working. Fred VanVleet wants out. Pascal Siakam, I think he's really, really, really tight with Masai Ujiri, the GM of the Toronto Raptors. I think he doesn't want to get rid of him, but this is also a once-in-a-lifetime chance of getting a top 10 NBA player on your team. And Kevin Durant, like I said, Fred VanVleet's on his way out. Gary Trent Jr. is just like a 3-and-D wing, and he also can get hot. This gives the Brooklyn Nets a new identity, potentially something to build around or whatever they want to do. And it gives KD a way out because he did have some trade demands earlier in the season. And let's say he always wanted to go to Toronto Raptors. He grew up in Washington, but he said his favorite team growing up was the Raptors. I don't know why, but it was. So here you go, KD. This is for your childhood. We'll send you to Toronto. But Kyrie, I don't know if he's getting past the border with no vax. That's the one caveat with this trade. So yeah, you could do four first round picks and everything else, but can he pass the physical and get into Canada? We don't know. I have another trade with Toronto, and it's not as crazy. It's a little more realistic. We gotta have fun. We gotta wake you guys up. The chat's a little sleepy. Um, so we got D'Angelo Russell going to Minnesota for Fred VanVleet and Thad Young. So this works. And also, Toronto would be getting the 2023 second round pick and then the 2028 second round pick. So they'd be getting 2 second round picks for Fred VanVleet and Thad Young. And I think it's a good deal. D. Russ is on unrestricted free agency after this year. And he's not really offering too much defense. He is offering some 3-point shooting, but Fred VanVleet offers the same thing. And Fred VanVleet's a strong guard. He's definitely a different body type than D'Angelo Russell. You're losing like a 6'7", 6'8" point guard, and getting a 6'1", 6'2" point guard who's stocky, but he plays harder defense. I like what Fred VanVleet does. And then Thad Young, you got a very switchable small ball 4-5. I think this could help to their depth. I think this could help to their playoff runs. Fred VanVleet has won an NBA championship to where D'Angelo Russell hasn't. So there's that. You got an actual winning player coming to you. So Minnesota would be giving the remainder of their second round picks, because I don't even think they have a first to even trade. Though I think they do have a first or two to trade, because they traded 5 firsts for Rudy Gobert. I think one of them is a swap, so technically they still have that pick. And then I think there's a year or two where they still have it, but they just couldn't trade back-to-back firsts in year to year. So this one, I'm actually a big fan of. I think it could happen. I would like it. Fred VanVleet playing with Anthony Edwards, I think it would be interesting. What else do we got cooking? We got some Detroit action, a little bag, a little Nerlens. So with this, is John Collins and Trae Young are beefing. I don't know what side that the GM is on. I don't know if he's on Trae's side. I don't know if he's on DeJounte Murray's side. I don't know if he's on Nate McMillan's side. I don't know if it's John Collins, because it's a new GM. It's not Travis Schlenk anymore. It is now Landry Shamet, who has also brought in under him Kyle Korver. So no, not Landry Shamet, Landry Fields. Landry Shamet is still playing basketball. The GM of the Atlanta Hawks is Landry Fields, who was a guard for the Knicks. I think is what I remember him most on. But he did bounce around a little bit. So you got John Collins going to Detroit, and they get somewhat of a power forward of the future for them. I'm not too sure. Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, is the power forward of the future for them. He's tried to add some 3-point shooting. He's tried to do some different things. He's currently hurt. He plays hard. I just see Beef Stew as a guy off the bench. I really do. I see him as a 7th, 8th guy on almost any team in the NBA, and almost any team will be happy with him being the 7th or 8th guy on their roster, just not the 4th or 5th guy. And that's what the Pistons have right now, to where he is their starting power forward. You got Jalen Duren at the center. It's just not the move, and I don't think that long term that's going to be the way that they're going to go. Marvin Bagley is someone that they traded for, but if they could get a higher caliber player in John Collins, it could happen. Though this is where my pedigree theory goes out the window, and I say that because Marvin Bagley was the second pick in the draft. It was Ayton, Bagley, Luka, Jaren Jackson, and then Trae Young. That was the draft. So you have a guy who was DeAndre Ayton, who's been to an NBA Finals. You got Marvin Bagley, drafted by the Kings, who's been nowhere. Luka, Western Conference Finals. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think he's on his way to maybe being Defensive Player of the Year this year. And then you have Trae Young, who's brought his team to an Eastern Conference Finals. The only outlier is Marvin Bagley. And something I noticed about Marvin Bagley at Hoop Hall, every year the Basketball Hall of Fame invites the top high school players in the country. And I grew up in Springfield, Mass, with the Basketball Hall of Fame. So I got to see Hoop Hall every year that has ever existed that I've went. And Bronny was there this year, LeBron James's son. He was also there last year, and someone threw something at him. A fan threw something like a piece of tissue or something like that from the crowd. It was so disrespectful. He was inbounding the ball, and it's a piece of me really hates Springfield for that. We're supposed to be the home of basketball. We're not supposed to be disrespecting LeBron James's son and throwing trash at him. But that event happens every single year. I remember seeing Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker. Their high schools met. They were the number 1 and number 2 ranked player in the world, and they faced off in the whole first quarter. It was basically 1v1, and each of their 4 teammates just got out the way. And they went one-on-one the whole first quarter, and they both busted each other's ass. Like they both got the best of each other and played incredible. We all know Andrew Wiggins has went on to win an NBA championship and be a great player, and Jabari Parker has went on to tear 2 or 3 ACLs, kind of be out of shape and overweight, and not be able to play defense and do and reach his top potential. But Jabari Parker was great in high school. Coming from Chicago, I really liked Jabari Parker. Thought he was a good talent, but I've seen some of the same things. He was a little chubby, you know. He was the round mound or rebound, but Charles Barkley had elite athleticism to where I don't think Jabari exactly had the same. Was definitely a strong dude, could obviously dunk, being 6'8" and athletic and fit. But yeah, he just had a little bit too much weight, too much bulk, and didn't have the speed and blew his knees out. Another good game I seen. I could give you hoop hall stories for hours. I could do a 3-hour, 5-hour pod on all these hoop hall stories. One is Breanna Stewart coming to Springfield as a high schooler and dropped 40 in the first half and then sat the second half. I witnessed it with my own eyes. She dropped 40, 2 quarters, and said, "I'm done. Let these girls play," and sat for the third and fourth. What else happened at Hoop Hall? Seen Kyrie a long time ago. There's this guy, Rico Gathers, I remember seeing, and probably the largest high schooler I've ever seen. Not height-wise, like this. If you see pictures of Rico Gathers, I think he's Ricardo Gathers now, I think he goes by. Or maybe he went by Ricardo Gathers back then, but I think it was Rico. And he plays for the Dallas Cowboys now. He plays tight end, and he might even just be a practice player at this point. But I wrote articles about him and Mo Alley Cox, who also was a college NCAA basketball player who got drafted in the NFL. I think Mo Alley Cox may still play for the Colts. He was doing pretty good, and I know he played this season as well. But Rico Gathers in high school, you were looking at him, and you're like, this dude is like bigger than LeBron James. Like he was built like Larry Johnson or Zion, but ripped, like veins popping out. He was definitely on juice in high school. And man, he was just beasting. I don't know what his stat line was, but I was watching him. I'm just like, there's no way. Like, there's no way anyone at this tournament is stopping this guy. If he wants to go through your chest, he's going through your chest. I seen the ultimate showdown, the same way I was saying Wiggins and Jabari. The ultimate showdown was Steven Adams versus Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel was the number 1 ranked big man in the country coming out of high school, and he played in Boston, where I live now. He's from Boston. He was going to Tilton, and I think he's from Everett, Mass. But he's playing for this high school called Tilton. And he had a teammate, Wayne Selden, who also made the NBA. And he had another big, Good Luck Okanoba, who went to UNLV and was a decent big man. But he had Wayne Selden next to him. But you had Nerlens Noel, number 1 ranked player at the center position. Number 2 ranked player in the world at the center position was Steven Adams. But he was coming from New Zealand to come play. No one knew about him. He was a 7-footer, yada, yada, yada. Do you know what happened? Steven Adams scored 2 points, and they were only from the free throw line. He got absolutely demolished, sunned, however you want to say it. Nerlens Noel, right here, punched everything Steven Adams brought to the paint. Steven Adams couldn't get anything going. I think he went like 2 for 6 from the free throw line or something. He his only points were from the free throw line. It was nuts. And Nerlens had like 24, and you're like, wow, this dude Steven Adams is ranked. He's all hype. Like 2 points? 2 points? Like you can't just have like a true matchup to where you guys are both busting each other and there's a competition. There was no competition in high school. You fast forward to today, Steven Adams is one of the most impenetrable forces in the NBA in the paint. And then you have Nerlens Noel, who's bouncing around as a journeyman. And it's just so funny. But then that goes to show you like what effort and hard work can really do. Like it truly pays off. Steven Adams, I seen him. I'm telling you, I seen it with my own eyes. I seen him get busted by Nerlens Noel in high school, and from there, Nerlens Noel has not added one move to his repertoire. He has not became a better player since his senior year in high school. He's the same exact player, to where Steven Adams can't say the same. That guy has grown leaps and bounds. He's added things to his bag, even though he doesn't have too much of a bag. But he's worked at everything and got better at everything. And I give Steven Adams the utmost respect because when I'm telling you, I witnessed it with my own eyes. This man looked like a certified scrub. But anybody would have next to Nerlens Noel at his peak. And Nerlens Noel peaked as a senior in high school, which carried him on, and he's still making millions of dollars. Let's do a quick look at Steven Adams. How much is Steven Adams making this year? Memphis. Yeah, he's getting 17. He's getting double the money that Nerlens is, man. Things are crazy, man. Times come, times change. But yeah, happy for him. All right, let's get back to this. Got me going off on tangents, talking about everything. Oh, all right. As Killian Hayes plays himself into a potential trade piece for Detroit, makes room for Ivy Cunningham when he comes back. Yes. Trey, what you know about that Brewster Academy matchup at Hoop Hall? Yeah. But yeah, Brewster Academy probably has produced, I think they're the best prep school in the United States. Like, truly, 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 the best prep school in the United States. You could read for me everybody else. You could go look up Mount Verde Academy and DeMatha. There is Oak Hill. Oak Hill's been pumping out legends for a long time. But if you actually sit down and look at what Brewster's done and been under the radar, and if you talk to people in the general NBA scope about prep schools, about anything, and you mention Brewster Academy, they're probably going to look at you and raise an eyebrow. A lot of people don't know about Brewster like that. It's just this little prep school in, in New Hampshire, but they recruit. When I tell you they recruit, they recruit. Yeah, Tilton Brewster Academy matchup was crazy. Oh my God. I remember this kid at DeMatha High School, another top high school. His name was BJ Anya, and he was this huge kid. He was pretty out of shape. You could look into him. Yo, he was like 6'8" maybe, but he had like a 7'6" wingspan. It was the stupidest wingspan I've ever seen. His hands were by his knees. He was just so big, but he was another guy who probably had a little too much weight on him and couldn't lose it. And his cardio was absolute dog shit. Like he was walking up the court at any like fast breaks, anything like. But he was an incredible athlete and everything else. What's up with Donovan Mitchell? I just see you commented Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, BJ Anya, crazy athlete. Oh yeah, he went to Brewster. Yeah, yeah. So much people went to Brewster, but that's why I was mentioning it. Like the Brewster talent pool is vast. You could maybe there's a way I could look up Brewster High School NBA players. You guys see this on my screen, or am I just sharing like one thing? All right, so I'm gonna read you a list of Brewster Academy kids. CJ Fair was decent. Jalen Adams, was pretty good. R.I.P. Terrence Clark. R.I.P. brother. Zaire Wade. I mean, he hasn't really proved himself yet. You got George Niang, Malik Fitz, who played for the Celtics last year, Noah Vonleh, Matt Bonner, Rashad McCants, Wayne Selden, Terrence Mann, Nathan Knight, Tyler Lydon, Duncan Robinson, TJ Warren, Javonte Graham, Nerlens Noel, Buddy Boeheim, Thomas Robinson, Jonah Bolden, Jakar Sampson, he was decent, Mitch McGarry, Samaje Kristen, Jared Terrell. I loved Jared Terrell in college. Oh my God. He played for Providence, and I got to see him play against UMass so much. Love Jared Terrell. Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Leck, Mad Bounce, Kai Jones, Will Barton. Got a lot of NBA talent, and a lot of it is clustered. Like a lot of these guys played together at Brewster, and that's why I say like there's a couple guys that a few years ago got into the league. Rashawn McCants, Matt Bonner. After that, everyone I named, oh, and Mitch McGarry. After those three, everyone else was teammates, and this team was so freaking good for so long. And they're just pumping out NBA. They're, I'd say, an NBA factory. I would feel confident in saying they are an NBA factory. Jakar Sampson, one of the best athletes you've ever seen. And I don't know how, but this little school in New Hampshire was getting all these guys. They were paying out the ass before NIL was a thing. Let's let's get that cleared up for what it is. I know that much. They were definitely giving them the bag. Hold on. All right, let's get to the next trade. This one I think could have some real legs. I got to get out of the Grizz. So something like this, I think, is possible. I didn't mean to click Luca. You got Bertans, and then you got Christian Wood. So with this trade works. It's a little crazy. It's a little crazy, but hear me out. Bertans doesn't even play, so this is more of like a trade. Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood for Kyrie and Royce, and Bertans is just a little flair on top. So what I see with this is you're getting more height around KD. You're getting some more length, and I think that team needs more length. I said they have way too much guards, and I wonder if cutting Kyrie wouldn't even be that bad in the overall scheme if you had better players around KD, and then also you get guys like Seth Curry and Patty Mills and maybe even a Cam Thomas more involved and them facilitating more into the offense, and then you survive with just having Tim Hardaway and Christian Wood out there. It's a possibility. You know, Christian Wood isn't a great defender. Neither is Kyrie. You're getting negative defenders on both ends. Both team is gaining a negative defender. You get a guard next to Luka. He played with Kemba a little bit, and I wonder if Kemba could be sort of the blueprint and the template for what Kyrie should do in Dallas. Kemba was there on like a 10-day contract. He was there. He came and went, had a spectacular night, and I wonder if they could do something like that. They also have a really good draft pick known by some as Jaden Hardy. I like Jaden Hardy. He did pretty good in the G League last year playing for the Ignite. He was drafted late into the draft. He was definitely supposed to be a first-round pick, and he wasn't. Hold on, let me get to this next trade. So this trade's got a little sauce to it. Karis LeVert, K Love. We're doing Paul George, Luke Kennard, and Reggie Jackson. So this trade is a little hectic. Looks a little nuts. The Cavs have a lot of cap room. The Clippers, on the other hand, need a real point guard. It's the way I see it. And let's say they just see Karis LeVert as a good creator. Darius Garland dropped 50 this season, so he's a value. the thing is you're trading Paul George, who's made an All NBA team, I believe, 5 times, and that's no small feat. So what you would have to do to even get this going is, I believe, that the Cavs would have to give up a lot. I think the Cavs would have to give up 2 first-round picks, and then you get Paul George at starting small forward. You also get Reggie Jackson. Um, Ricky Rubio is coming back, and I think you would have Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell, Paul George, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. That would be a pretty solid 5. Rubio, Mitchell, Paul George. Boom. So then you get Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard coming off the bench, which is a punch off the bench of offense, which I think the Cavs could use. You lose Garland, which is their point guard of the future, but Donovan Mitchell has a lot of point guard qualities. And you got Rubio. He loves Rubio. He loves playing with him. Those guys are buddies. I know behind the scenes, I know from stories and reading different articles that they're like this. Donovan Mitchell and Rubio, for some weird reason, are like best friends. And they've been even before the trade happened. So then when Donovan comes to Cleveland and now he's the point guard, Rubio's his backup, it's perfect for them. They're buddies. You get a contract dump with Kevin Love. Who really knows what's going on with Kawhi and everything, if they have playoff aspirations or what they really do? This is kind of one of these crazy trades. And it's like, hey, maybe the Clippers are saying, F it. We're done trying to chase this title this year. Let's work on doing something else and try to go a slightly different direction. Who knows? We're going to move on from this one, though. Another big-time deal. I like these big-time deals. And the Clippers, I have involved in a lot of them. James Harden is going to be... Wait. Oh, why did I hit Knicks? All right. So with this one, you got James Harden going to Clip Gang, him and PJ. And what you're doing is getting rid of Norman Powell, Luke Kennard, Rocco. I think that's all you need. All right, yeah. So it would be this plus, it would be at least 1 first. And I think that could possibly work. You know, you have Tyrese Maxey, who they want to be the point guard of the future. James Harden's there. But there was like already trade rumors and everything else. I think potentially this could be good for both teams. You have the Clippers who get like who get a vet, and you have probably James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi, PJ at the 4, and then you have Zubac at the 5. And I think that team is actually pretty decent. You put that out there in the playoffs, it's going to be scary. You have a lot of switchability with PJ, Kawhi, and Paul George. James Harden is a very strong defender. He's not the best defender. I think like physically he's strong. And even if he gets a mismatch, something like that, he's just not going to slide his feet and help the helper and do all these switches and stuff to the best of his ability. He just doesn't put full effort on the defensive end. And then Philly, they kind of get people who are not going to stick to the ball, and it's going to move more, and it's going to maybe help Joel Embiid be the more focal point of the offense. Though James Harden has facilitated and done his thing, he's just James Harden. You know, he just does things in the offense. As soon as he passes the ball, he's just going to stand still. He causes some stagnation, which I think is fine if you have guys like Kawhi and Paul George, but not when you don't. I think when you're with guys like Matisse Thybulle and Tobias Harris, I think you got to do different things. You got to try to help them get open too, and James Harden doesn't really do that. All right, so we already know that trade works. Luke Kennard still has the most points. Yeah, I think so. Didn't he pass LeBron? He passed LeBron in high school points. I respect high school stats. I don't care what anybody says. If you did it in high school, kudos to you. Ooh, this is a goodie. This is a goodie. I've been cooking with grease with these Clipper picks. Let's go Clippers in Charlotte. So right now we're gonna send Terry Rozier and PJ Washington for Norman Powell, Reggie Jackson, and a first. So the Clips are going all in. They're ditching Reggie Jackson. They don't like Reggie Jackson. Terry Rozier is a 200% better 3-point shooter. I know it's not a real stat, but just watching what Terry Rozier does with the basketball shooting threes compared to Reggie Jackson, way better. You're also signing a guy a little bit more long term who's not thinking about himself in a contract year. He knows he's getting paid. He wants to win. And I think that'll help. You get PJ Washington, who isn't a contract year, who will go out there and play his hardest and back up whatever. Like if Kawhi is hurt, you could slide PJ at the 4. If Paul George is hurt, you could slide PJ maybe at the 3 or maybe shake some things up within the offense. But either way, PJ Washington is, I think, he wants to prove himself. He wants to go somewhere where he can win and be a playoff guy and say, like, look, this is what I do. Like, I know I've been in Charlotte. I know I've been scoring. I've been blocking shots. I've been hitting threes. But no one cares because it's in Charlotte. I think here, people will care more. People will notice him more. And then you just, replace Reggie Jackson with Terry Rozier. LaMelo's had injury problems this whole season. They don't have too much guard depth. Plus, you get Norman Powell to go at the 2. And maybe that's the guy that LaMelo's good with long term, is a guy like Norman Powell. And Norman Powell is locked up for a little bit. So there's some future to it. But like I said, Charlotte is going to be gaining a first round pick from this move. The Clippers are going to be trading that away. What we got? Oh, we got a crazy one coming up. I don't know if you guys are ready for all this madness. So we got Milwaukee, Golden State, and Atlanta. So I'm sending Klay Thompson to the Milwaukee Bucks with Justin Holiday to reunite with his brother Drew. Chris Middleton is going to the Warriors with John Collins. And the Atlanta Hawks are getting Draymond Green and Grayson Allen. So this trade looks crazy, right? But it works. It actually works. So what I believe what would happen is, I genuinely think this, that the Warriors would have to give a first to the Bucks, and then I think Atlanta maybe gives a second rounder, something like that, to the Bucks. I think the Bucks take on picks here. I think the Warriors get incredibly better because you have a guy like Chris Middleton coming off an injury, sort of like Klay. They play the same position. They both play small forward. I know as listed Klay here as a shooting guard, but as Klay's gotten older, a little less mobile, he's a small forward. You got Chris Middleton, another small forward. Chris Middleton can create better off the catch than Klay Thompson can. Chris Middleton's a guy who wants to maybe even operate out of the high post, pass out of it, do some things, even hit a post fade. You got to create for Klay like almost 100%. To where Chris Middleton, you don't have to create 100% for him. He can create his own shots. And you got John Collins. So you got some bigs. You get a big for potentially the future. A guy who could just, run around. He doesn't really play defense, but in theory he could. And the Hawks just don't really give up too much to get Draymond Green. You're going to have Draymond Green and Onyeka Okongwu, and there's not too much shooting around that, but that's a lot of defense and grit. Plus, you get a little Grayson Allen action, and he's like a fake Kevin Huerter. It says the Warriors really get worse, but I think it's because of Draymond missing. Not as much with Klay. I think Dre at this point is a better player, even though Klay Thompson's a better offensive player. I love defense and everything that Draymond brings. I think he's a one of a kind. Klay, he's like he's something you like make up in your imagination, like a guy who just makes every set corner three and everything like that. Like that's what Klay is, but to offer something else to everybody, and I think he'd be pretty good in Milwaukee. Um, yeah, crazy trade, crazy. Here's another one, but I think I did a trade somewhat similar to this in the beginning of the show, but this is a slightly different version of it. You have the Lakers, San Antonio, and Indiana. Here we're going to be sending Russell Westbrook. As I said earlier, sending Westbrook to the Spurs. But with this, you're sending Pirtle to the Pacers, and you're sending Dougie McBuckets to the Pacers, and then it's Lakers and Lakers. This is kind of the trade that's in the ether. What everyone has been saying for a very long time: Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for Westbrook, blah 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 blah. But there's too much point guards. There's too much guard depth, which we've already gotten into with Indiana. There's too much young guys. If Halliburton's going to be out for the remainder of the year, maybe they take Westbrook and just play and get guys used to a pro style offense and having a superstar next to them. I'm always a big fan of that, especially if it's like a buyout year and these young guys can kind of get a feel. Westbrook can be OG, kind of show him around, do whatever he wants. To be honest, he could ride the bench, he could start and take up 48 minutes a game. Doesn't really matter because they're trying to lose and aim for the future and build and let these guys live and learn. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in one season. So we got this lined up. Like I said, it's something I kind of pitched before. So we're going to move on from this a little quicker than normal. All right, let me X out. Boom. Got another trade that was somewhat similar. So it's Atlanta, Detroit, big four teamer. 14. So we got Draymond Green going to the Hawks. John Collins going to the Pistons. Jay Crowder going to the Warriors. Dario Saric going to the Warriors. And then the Suns get Bogdanovich. So right here, I forget how to zoom. How do I do this? There you go. I feel like this will look better on StreamYard. Did it zoom a little bit? Let me know if it zoomed. Ooh, Lakers need Devin Vassell. I'll try for that trade after this. I'll work some magic with that. I haven't seen many of those projections yet. But right here, oh yeah, the zoom doesn't really do too much. At least on my screen, it looks like it zoomed. Maybe it zooms for y'all. But anyway, we got Draymond Green going to the Hawks. Detroit Pistons picking up John Collins. I've already kind of made a John Collins trade with him going to the Pistons before and explained that. Hawks, same thing. They ended up with Draymond Green, but the rest of the trades are different. Warriors are picking up Jay Crowder and Dario Saric, so you get some shooting instead of some playmaking with Draymond Green, some tough defense, but you also get some tough defense from Jay Crowder. Excuse me. Then you got the Suns getting Bogdanovich. I think it could work. I'm just saying. Just saying. They're missing their power forward. And I think he could be pretty good if you get Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Bojan Bogdanovich, and then you have DeAndre Ayton. It's a pretty good starting five because who knows about Cam Johnson if he's really going to come back fully healthy and do what he's got to do, or he might need a year of recovery before he's back to the player he was trending to be. So I think this is a really fun trade, but we're going to bail on it. We're going to make some moves because we're going to try to get Devin Vassell on the Lakers, and we're going to see if that's a possibility because Trey wants to see it. So we're going to go all the way to LA, and then we're going to go to San Antonio, and we're going to see what it would take. Did I pass him? Where is he? Here's Vassell. So this is Devin Vassell. He's only got $4 million right now on the deal, but god damn, he's talented. So what we got to figure out is how can we get Devin Vassell on the Spurs? What would it take? Oh, holy crap. Since we've been live, ESPN has updated the trade machine and put Rui Hachimura. Do you remember in the beginning of the stream that we put the Rui Hachimura in the trade and they still didn't update it yet? So now it's fully updated. That's cool. It did zoom? All right, thanks. So I'll keep it like that. So Devin Vassell I think this would have to be a three-teamer. I feel like there's somewhere that we have to pull contracts from. I'd have to do some in-depth research for this one. But let's say somewhere like Charlotte. We put Russell Westbrook in a Hornets jersey. You do something like this where you get Rozier to the Lakers. Something has to fill up the Spurs. They must get something. Yeah, this is tough. Like actually tough. They got SoCan. Let's say Pop wants Mark Williams. Charlotte is taking on a lot of money here. Um, dang, this is hard. Getting rid of Westbrook and then trading it for a $4 million contract is like maybe it's not with Charlotte. Let's see. So we're gonna trade Gordon Hayward too, and then we're gonna give them that. Mark Williams is gonna go right here. Oof. Pirtle? Hold on. This works. I know it works. So what I think would happen is the Lakers would have to give the Spurs. This is what I would do. It would be Lakers would have to give their the most recent first round pick because they're going to be bad soon. So I'd say in 3 years, I think it's 2016 is that first or 2016, 2026 is that first round pick, and then they have a 2029 pick. So I would give the 2029 to Charlotte. So you're getting 2026 in the Spurs, and then you're getting a 2029 Charlotte. Lakers both picks going over because you're getting so much here. And then also Charlotte Hornets would give a first. So they're getting a first from the Lakers, but Charlotte's also going to give one of their firsts to the Spurs because Mark Williams is not the player that Devin Vassell is. Like they're losing someone huge here and when they trade Vassell, and I think they would want something back in return, massive. So I'm saying two firsts to maybe three firsts and some extra stuff. And maybe there's someone in here that they could slap in that's like a small contract but still very wanted, like JT Thor. Like let's say something like this. I like this. I really do. If there's a lot of firsts attached, it's pretty good. So then you go to LA, and this is what the lineup is. It's Terry Rozier. It's Devin Vassell. It's LeBron James. It's Anthony Davis at the four? Nah. It would be Terry Rozier. This is how it would be. It would be point guard Terry Rozier, shooting guard Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell at the three, LeBron at the four, AD at the five. I think that's a real lineup. That could be something that could work. Who do you think made out better? Atlanta moving Kevin Herter to get DeJounte or Sacramento getting Sabonis for Halliburton and bringing in Kevin? So I think, hmm, yeah, I think the Kings won the trade, though losing Halliburton. I think there's an argument to be made that you don't lose Halliburton. You give Fox for Halliburton. I just think he's a different type of player. I think Fox is. I like Fox. I can't say anything bad about Fox. I just like Halliburton. I think they're two different type of players. I think they're two different style of point guards, and Just is what it is. You like there's a difference between Tony Parker and Russell Westbrook. They were still both great point guards. There's nothing there's nothing you can say Tony Parker and Russell Westbrook aren't good point guards. So I mean, I'd still say De'Aaron Fox is a good point guard, and I would still say Tyrese Halliburton is a good point guard. So I'll say the Kings won. Kings won the trade. You got Sabonis, top 10 center. You could argue five. Um, in the game. And then you also are getting Kevin Herter, who has been unlocked in the Kings system with Mike Brown. I feel like Mike Brown truly has gotten the most out of Kayvon Herter. We love Red Velvet Kayvon, and his passing, his shooting has been incredible. He does all things, and I think he's been a better player since he's left Trae Young's side, and that speaks to a lot of things. If you're better away from Trae Young than with him, that says something because a lot of people at one point thought Trae Young was making everyone else better around him. He was averaging 10 plus assists coming out of college, and even coming into the NBA, he was averaging damn near 10 assists. So you're like, oh, this guy's finding guys until you watch like a few games in a row and you start to pick up on some things that Trae lacks. Um, so let's move on. I love these trade shows, man. This trade deadline stuff just gets me going because of the possibilities. I got another trade. I work on these things all day. I appreciate you guys tuning in because I do a lot of research in advance so I don't just come up here and not know what to do because it is very hard to formulate trades and do stuff like that. So we have a crazy trade that I hope Lakers fans come to love. Um, Sometimes I wouldn't say it's trolling, but it's just like what could happen. So we got let me put this together before I spit it out so I don't say anything wrong. So this trade is successful. And what you get with it is DeRozan and Draymond Green on the Lakers. Draymond Green is a clutch client, and I feel like LeBron would love to play with more clutch clients because that's just his thing. So you got Draymond Green and DeMar DeRozan coming through. And sending out, you're sending Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverly, some point guards. Getting them out of there. The point guards that can't shoot, the point guards that fake play defense. All set. All set with all of it. The Warriors get Vooch. He's a pretty good offensive threat. And I think he's a decent passer. I think he wants to play defense better than what he does. I think he could potentially do that in the Warriors system. He's a smart player, and I feel like he could read and adapt to what the Warriors do. Obviously, they would take a step back defensively. Draymond Green and what he does for everything is huge, and I think it's irreplaceable. But maybe they take a swing at it. Vooch also can't guard pick and rolls to the best ability, and I've already talked about how I don't like centers who can't guard a pick and roll. But they already have like stuff like people are hunting Steph instead of Vooch if he was on the team. They're hunting Steph defensively, not Vooch. But if they're hunting Vooch, then they're not hunting Steph. It balances out. But is it good having that much negative defenders on the court? It's a lot of things. But I think the Warriors take on picks. And that's one thing here that is very slept on. So the Lakers would be getting some great players, but they would also be getting rid of both their first round picks that they own and potentially something else. I don't know what it could be. Could be some small contract guys, but somewhere in this realm, all the contracts work. Um, but yeah, the Bulls, they're kind of just blowing it up, and then there's going to be another trade somewhere where they're just maybe they're just going to have Levine slide to the 2 for the rest of the year, see how that goes, try him in some different sets, and then you have Westbrook, pro style point guard, pro style offense, and he could just run it, and you guys see what you have left from this trade and what you could build on. Obviously, Ty Jerome is a contract filler guy. Pat Bev's in his last year, probably his last year getting a good deal in Golden State. He could act as a defensive guard that they brought in Dante for, and they lost Gary Payton the second, Gary Payton Jr., the mitten, not the glove. I think there could be something there. This trade really benefits the Lakers. But they're giving up those picks, and those picks are highly coveted because we all know the Lakers are going to stink in 3 to 5 years. All right. So moving on. How long do you see Trey in ATL? I don't see Trey staying in Atlanta for too much longer, but the problem is I don't know. Like I'm not in that locker room. There's only a certain amount of things that I've heard and watching things and following a whole bunch of beat writers on Twitter and on Instagram and trying to be like in the know as much as I possibly can because that's what I try to do. I wouldn't follow as many people. I would have a lot lower following count. Obviously, my followers is whatever, but like my following count, it would be a lot less if I didn't try to cover a million beat writers because I think that's where I get the best intel. Even if they're like, "Oh, Patrick Beverly drinks smoothies after every game" or something like that. Like you just get facts that you couldn't get anywhere else from a guy who's actually at the arena and going through these things. So yeah, I don't know too much about what's really going on, but this could be a potential. And if the Warriors are taking on a first, they haven't done the best in the draft. So maybe they also use that as a piece to get off Wiseman and to do some different stuff. And Vooch is also in his contract year, so he's a free agent after this. This frees up the Warriors. They've been paying so much towards the cap because they hit the hard cap all the time, so they pay the tax pay, like they pay the luxury tax in the NBA all the time. They overpay, and this would be a way for them to dump some contracts. They don't have to re-sign Draymond Green and have that conversation. And the reason why he's mad at Jordan Poole and punched him in the eye because Jordan Poole got a contract extension this summer and Draymond Green didn't. So there's something there. I think there is something there, and I'm not too sure how open the Warriors would be to doing something like this, but I think there's a possibility. All right. What we got next? Oh, I had something, but it had to do with Kendrick Nunn, and it was basically this trade, but Ty Jerome was swapped a little bit. Um, this one, Atlanta in the Heat. So what you're doing is you're sending Trey Young and Frank Kaminsky. Frank Kaminsky is just kind of the cap filler in this, to be honest. And you're doing Kyle Lowry, Deadman, because Deadman's like off the team. Like there's no way the Heat is gonna put up with him forever. I didn't mean to put Duncan. Omer, you're at 7. All right, so this is what it is. So this trade works contractually. And what you're going to do is you're also trading 3 first-round picks. The Heat are. The Heat are trading 3 first-round picks to Atlanta. You're giving Kyle Lowry, Dwayne Edmond, and the Hawks get a player of the future potentially in Omer Yurtseven. We've seen him in stretches. He reminds me a little bit of Santi Aldama, where you're like, what does the 7-footer even do? He's not very defensive. He's not very offensive. What does this guy do? So you give him some space to figure out what he is as an NBA player in Atlanta, who's obviously would be currently in a rebuild, switching some things up. And you would also suspect John Collins is potentially on the way out, unless they take John Collins' side in the whole Trae Young beef. But it sounded like John Collins has wanted to be on the move for a very long time. So we're just going to chalk it up as that. This one, moving on, I think is actually a possible move that could happen. You're getting Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate, Bobby, and Bruno Fernando, right? Yeah. And this is Serge and Middleton. So this trade works. I've been trying to move Chris Middleton for a long time off the Milwaukee Bucks. There's people who think I'm crazy for it. Um, People are like, yo, just wait until he gets back, yada, yada, yada. Let's bring it back. Bring it back, to my pedigree argument. Hold up. Imagine if Trey gets traded this year. I know, man. If Trey got traded, I'd be amazed. But I think it's a possibility that could happen. Bro, I know. Have you seen the Penguins been playing lately? Tough. How Penguin? Who's Penguin? Are you talking about Shengun and your thing did a typo? Like it did autocorrect? Who's Penguin? I'll see you in a second. But but yeah, so this trade right here, you got Eric Gordon, who's been waiting to go on a team that actually is contending. You got Jayshawn Tate, who's been hurt and kind of contract restricted for a little bit. So now he's eligible to be traded after January 15th because of when he signed his deal. You got Bobby and Bruno Fernando. I would say Bobby would get cut immediately. Like they would waive him, they would buy out his contract. Same with Serge Ibaka. I think he would probably get bought out by the Rockets. They would take on Chris Middleton. There's been rumors of James Harden potentially going down to Houston next year and playing there. So maybe KPJ is on the move, and right now he's out indefinitely. And I think Chris Middleton next to James Harden complement each other pretty damn well. They're not the best defensive bunch, but they bring a lot of offense, a lot of 3-point shooting, creation, and that could be a move. I think Chris Middleton would look really good next to Luka too, which I did. I think last show I did a bunch of trades. We're figuring out a way to get Chris Middleton to the Mavericks. I think him coming back there at his own pace. Also, at the Mavericks, you don't have to be rushed to be a superstar. Luka's going to have the ball every single possession. So it gives Chris Middleton some time to kind of catch his NBA rhythm and speed back. And then by the playoffs, he's back to being Chris Middleton again, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But Chris Middleton I have a pedigree issue with Chris Middleton. I think with his age right now, how old is Chris Middleton? 31. He wasn't a guy that was drafted or recruited too high. He never had peak athleticism. He's coming off 2 surgeries and an injury. He's coming off 3 injuries, 3 different injuries that took him out, 2 surgeries in 2 different spots of his body. And then this knee injury that's been his problem the whole season since he came back. Now he has this weird knee injury. And he's got to take every other night off and all this other stuff. So I think with the Mavs, could potentially do something. But the Rockets is this trade that we're speaking of. And it gets Milwaukee some win now players. I think Tate and Bobby Portis, bro. If you get Jayshawn Tate and Bobby Portis on the court at the same time, you put Bobby at the 5. He's not much of a shot blocker, but we've been putting him at small ball 5. But we need a power forward that's also hard nosed, will play defense, will crash the offensive glass, will take you off of the defensive glass. Like, this is the guy. I love Jayshawn Tate. And Serge Ibaka said he wants to get out. So that's like the whistle, the dog whistle that we already know. There's going to be a Milwaukee trade. There's a few symbols of that. There's cutting a guy right now, like cutting the 15th man off your roster. That means you're opening up room for multiple players to come in a trade, and you're trading one player out. There's little telltale signs like that. So what I would suspect is the Bucks are making room, and they're making room for this trade. I did something like this. It's basically like a swap, but you take Zach LaVine and Trae Young. They have the same exact contract. I think Zach LaVine makes $1,000 more than Trae a year, which is kind of a joke. But literally 37 million, 37. So their contracts match up. This is something that's like, hey, the Hawks maybe want a taller guard. Maybe just don't want Trae's attitude anymore. Chicago Bulls are saying Zach LaVine doesn't play defense and yada, yada, yada. Doesn't facilitate the way he should. Maybe they're fine taking Trae Young in the lack of defense, but he also is bringing a lot of creation. And he's a face. I feel like Zach LaVine, like, he's a handsome guy. He plays great. He could shoot the 3. He could dunk. He's a slam dunk champion. Everything is good about Zach LaVine, but for some reason, he's not a poster boy. He just isn't. You don't see Zach LaVine and think winning. You don't think playoff success. You don't see anything with him. And maybe the Bulls are like, listen, like, Zach LaVine's good and all, but he's not the face of a team, and he's not going to be known. He's not going to fill the seats the way Trae Young will. This is a business. There's a lot of things that come into this. And yeah, it just mind boggles me that Zach LaVine has never figured out like his marketing angle. But Trae Young has. Like, he's shut down and quieted the New York crowd in the playoffs and sent them home and packing. Like, Trae Young already has a story to his career to where Zach LaVine is like, yeah, he bounced around, he scores points, he blows his knee out every other year. There's not much that you could really hoot and holler about him. So who knows like what first round picks you would give up, who would give what. But this is what I'm saying. Could be a little swap and successful. What else we got? We got a few more trades. I only got a couple more sheets lined up. So we'll go Houston and Miami. All right, so Houston and Miami, and we're gonna do Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo, and Dwayne Dedman. I'm stuck on this Dedman thing because he threw the massage gun at the floor when he was arguing with Eric Spoelstra, and the massage gun bounced and it hit the floor and bounced onto the court, and it stopped the whole game. So like I feel like when you're doing something like that, like there's on court, off court distractions, there's all this type of stuff. But when you're at a game throwing a fit and stopping live game action, like I think the NBA has a problem with you. I think the NBA is contacting the Heat and like, yo, just cut Dedman. Like, what is he doing? He's not acting professionally. He's just not. That's just not what you do in the NBA. Is throw something on the court while the game is going on. And I think Dwayne Dedman crossed a unspoken of line in the NBA that people really don't cross. Like I've never seen a situation where a player was angry and he threw something on the court during live game action. It's a whole new thing, and I'm just gonna say he gets traded. And coming back from the Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo, Dwayne Dedman trade is Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate, and Garrison Matthews. So with this trade works, the Heat would be giving up the 2026 first round pick. So that's what the Rockets would be taking on. And I honestly, for some reason, a piece of me thinks Miami Heat owns the 2026 Houston first round pick. I could be wrong, but I wrote it like that here. So I think that might be true. The 2026 Houston first round pick. So Houston might be getting their first round pick back that they at one point traded away, and the Miami Heat now have by some way. Um, so yeah, you're giving up a first. You're dumping this Robinson contract. Victor Oladipo gets a new spot. He could kind of cook on his own terms. Dwayne Dedman, like, just get out of here. The Heat are getting their 3-point shooting white guy still in Garrison Matthews because they're getting rid of Duncan Robinson. There you go. You got Garrison Matthews. All he does is shoot threes. Jayshawn Tate, I've already explained how much I like him, why I like him. I think he'll be good on the Heat too because they're lacking a power forward. Even though it's listed as a small forward, next to Jimmy Butler, he's a power forward. He's a 6'7" tough guy. He's stout. Like this is a power forward. And then you got Eric Gordon, who could play make, he could score, he could do all things. And if you have him next to Kyle Lowry, because he's still in this universe, Kyle Lowry's still the point guard for the Heat, and putting Eric Gordon next to him might be pretty damn good. You know, they're older guys, but they're both very smart, good playmakers. I think they could craft their way around and also be good with Jimmy Butler. Plus, you got your hard-nosed, hard-working guy, Jayshawn Tate there, and then you got Bam, who just should be better than what he is. But he's still had a good year. He's taken a step this year, though it's a baby step. I think he should be taking bigger steps. Indy, we got to move with Indy and Phoenix. And I think this is something that people could kind of foretell. We are going to trade Jay Crowder and DeAndre Ayton, and we are going to send them for Buddy Hield, Miles Turner. So they're going to steal this Lakers trade that has been prospected for a very long time. It kind of matches up perfectly. This makes sense, right? Like, I feel like, all right, Trey, good looks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll see you. If that happens, would the Rockets be a playoff or finals contender? No, I don't think the Rockets would be. I think it would be part of their rebuild, and they'd be thinking to do something else because Victor Oladipo is going to be most likely the backup shooting guard there. Duncan Robinson, I think, could be the starting three. There's a potential, especially if you're shipping out a lot of guys like Eric Gordon and Jayshawn Tate. Duncan Robinson comes in, you get a lot of shooting. They use Garrison Matthews, and I think Duncan Robinson is a better player than Garrison Matthews. I don't think he's as athletic as Garrison Matthews, but I think, is a more fluid athlete than him. And he does his other things too. But this trade right here, DeAndre Ayton, Jay Crowder, Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, I think this is a realistic trade. I think this could go down. All right, we're going to back out of this. What else? I'm trying to zoom through, and so I don't. Yeah, I only got 2 more sheets, so I think like 8 more trades left. Should go by quick. Keep it with Indy, Lakers, Charlotte. Did I do a rendition of this trade already? We'll send Indy. Yeah, I haven't done this one yet. And we're going to send this one to the. Oh, no. Is it? Yeah, Indy, Kai Jones, Russell Westbrook. The Lakers get Buddy Hield and Terry Rozier. And then Charlotte gets Miles Turner. Kendrick Nunn was on this trade list, but he's no longer available to be traded. So I'm just going to put Shannon Brown representing the Kendrick Nunn to Charlotte. Let's see if it still works. Oh, it does, because Kendrick Nunn was about $5 million, so I was wondering if it wouldn't work. All right, so this trade still works, and I would say Indy is getting 1 first-round pick from the Lakers, so the Lakers are giving 1 pick to Indy and 1 pick to Charlotte, and they're picking up Buddy Hield and Terry Rozier. They're dropping Westbrook. This brings shooting, ball handling, creation, not much defense, but yeah, I think Terry Rozier, Buddy Hield, you bring both of them into the Lakers on top of you just brought in Rui Hachimura to come off the bench too to back up AD whenever he needs a breather and to do some other things, maybe play with AD too. This is a move. This is quite the move, but it's a move. And the Charlotte Hornets get Miles Turner, and I don't know if he's going to stay there. It's probably not. Maybe even the Pacers have to give something to Miles Turner. I mean, to the Hornets, because the Hornets are giving up a guy they got signed long term, and Kai Jones is potentially a power forward that they could keep for longer. So yeah, Charlotte would probably take on like another second rounder, maybe 2 second rounders. Right now we got Indy. Oh, I got another Indy Lakers trade. Charlotte. All right. So we got him going here. Nick Richards is going to go to the Pacers in this version of it. It's pretty similar to the one that I just drew up, but slightly different, and you'll see why. Terry Rozier here, and Buddy Hield is the one going to Charlotte, and Damian Jones to the Hornets. So this trade right here, like I said, somewhat similar to the last one, but we are swapping Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. The Lakers, if they truly want a big and AD refuses to play center long term, and that's like his for sure starting position, you bring in Miles Turner. Miles Turner could also hit a 3. He finishes plays well, finishes lobs. He's pretty good. You got Terry Rozier coming in. Buddy Hield might be the long-term fit next to LaMelo. We still don't know what the Hornets could be. And I think until we know what they could be, I think they're okay with being mediocre. They lost Miles Bridges in the whole domestic violence scandal and everything, as they should have. And then he also didn't re-sign a contract, so there's issues there. He was going to be one of their guys that they build around with LaMelo. They had a defensive stopper. They had so much things in Miles Bridges, and who knows what they do. So they get Buddy Hield and Damian Jones on the way back. Same thing. First-round picks go out each way from the Lakers, and maybe even something else for Charlotte, because I think Charlotte's getting a really bad end of the stick. This one, we're not going to do another Russell Westbrook Indian. It's just another slightly different version of that. This one, I was trolling, but it works. So I gave up Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen, and 4 first-round picks. So it's Kyrie and KD coming to Milwaukee Bucks. You're giving up Middleton, Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen for the contract matching. You're giving up 4 first-round picks by Milwaukee. It would never happen. This wouldn't happen in a million years, but contractually it works, and it's fun to look at. What else? We got, oh, this is like a little mini trade, but I think it could be useful in some way. So PJ Washington, I think, needs some space to play. You also, I think you need some more shooting over here. I don't like Book Knight that much. I like Duarte, and you put Duarte in Charlotte, you get some more shooters over there, and also the Pacers need a power forward. Jalen Smith hasn't been the end all be all position that they wanted. So maybe you bring in some more shooting, some depth. He's a pretty damn good athlete. He rebounds well. I like PJ Washington. Big fan. Probably should be on a bigger deal his next go around. Uh, so yeah, this trade is kind of like a little swapperoo. And this is my last bit of trades. So I appreciate you tuning in. Let me let you know. We got Washington, last 3 trades. Gotta make the most out of them. So we got this Trae Young and Clint Capella to the Washington Wizards. For who, you ask? Bradley Beal, Will Barton, and where is he? Daniel Gafford. So with this, you have Atlanta saying DeJounte Murray is our point guard of the future. We are trading for Bradley Beal to be our shooting guard. So you are sliding DeJounte Murray from the shooting guard, from the 2 to the 1, bringing Bradley Beal in as the 2, and then Will Barton, and then you got Gafford. Gafford's going to be the replacement. He's going to be with Onyeka Okongwu, and it's obviously King Capella is going to be out of there. And then Will Barton adds some wing depth. What's up? Yeah, I'm live streaming.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
get out of here. What do you think? I'm talking to myself? All right, bye. That was my girlfriend. But all right, let me finish this up. But I think this trade could be cool. I really do. The Washington Wizards finally get a point guard in Trae Young. It would be awesome. All right, 2 more trades. 2 more trades, then we can wrap up. If you have any more questions, I'll let you know. So we got Cleveland and we got Charlotte. This is another trade. I cooked up this one today. So we got Cody Martin and PJ. You're trading Kevin Love and Lamar Stevens. So this trade right here is basically a contract dump. The Hornets are going to take on being a bad team and do what they have to do. Lamar Stevens is a decent small forward in the league. He's obviously a bench guy if you've ever seen him play. I mean, he's good. He just doesn't have that huge upstart, high potential, high ceiling. But he's decent, serviceable role player. He's from the 7th to the 10th best man on your team. You don't want him any higher than that. But on Charlotte, he could find his role. He could find his niche. He maybe even could play for another contract or be a tradable piece to get somebody else in if he shows a lot of value. But with Cleveland, what you're going to get here is I think Cleveland's going to have to give at least one first round pick, maybe 2, because these guys can ball. PJ, as I said, PJ could ball. Kelly Oubre could shoot the lights out. So you're getting Kelly Oubre off the bench, potentially PJ Washington starting at the 3, or maybe even Cody Martin, and you got PJ coming off the bench, and they just light it up from all ways. Last trade of the night. New York Knicks and the Utah Jazz. Haven't had much trades involving these guys. But what we got right now is Mike Conley and Malik Beasley going to the Knicks. And what you're dropping, this is like contract dump stuff. Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish, and IQ. So here, Emmanuel Quickly is an incredible guard, and I think he's got high potential. And that's what the Jazz are buying with this pick. It's a $40 million trade, but you're getting the guy for $2 million. The other $38 million, it doesn't even matter, to be honest, because Derrick Rose is at the end of his career. Evan Fournier is at the end of his career. And you got Cam Reddish, who wants a place to show himself. So if he goes out there, can do his own thing, can do something. That's cool. But I think Emmanuel quickly is the young player of the future that they would want with this pick. And then with the Knicks, you're getting someone to put next to Jalen Brunson, and you're also getting a backup guard. Whether you want Michael Beasley to be the starting two next to Jalen Brunson, who could light it up, or you want Conley and you add some like 2 point guard lineups and they do some things with that. But I think you would rather have Mike Conley come off the bench because right now these are bench guys not doing anything. They're soaking up $32 million doing nothing. Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose are sitting on their ass. So you could actually have a 6 man like Mike Conley and maybe have a winning situation there. And I truly love this trade. So what Utah would have to do, what the Knicks would have to do to make this trade happen is give Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish, Emmanuel Quickly, and 2 first-round picks. They would give 2 first-round picks to get Mike Conley and Malik Beasley. And that wraps up the trade show. So I put together so many trades, so many things. Literally, all these little note cards are just filled up front to back with all these trade scenarios. And I'm glad I got to get a lot of trade scenarios off my chest. I'm glad you guys have tuned in this whole time. Let me know if you have any more questions. I was going to talk a little TopShot. I was supposed to have 2 guests with me tonight. I invited 3 people to be guests tonight, and all 3 of them bailed. One of them, 2 of them bailed. One ghosted. Um, they had their reasons. I'm pretty sure the other person was busy. But I had a lot of things lined up, so I'm going to save some of them for the next time. A lot of good trades. We need to do a March Madness show. Hell yeah. You already know. We'll do a March Madness show. I watch a lot of non-professional basketball when I get the chance to. I've been watching Victor Wembanyama play overseas. If you go on the NBA app and you find out Victor Wembanyama's schedule, you can watch them for free. You can watch all the games by the Metro what are they? The 92s, the 72s? There's some weird number. But yeah, you can watch Victor play overseas, and I've been watching that a lot. But other than that, I think this wraps up the trade show. We spoke of Hoop Hall at Springfield, Mass, and seeing all those young players and all the young talent. I'm a big fan of prospecting talent, looking at potential rookies. I go to Summer League Vegas every single year to see that type of thing. There's a reason why I was talking about Day'Ron Sharp and how I hate the way he plays defense because I've witnessed it. I've seen it 2 summers in a row now because Day'Ron Sharp went back as a summer league player again with Cam Thomas and David Duke this year. And what I seen was not good things from Day'Ron Sharp. I think he could jump like 2 inches higher than he did his rookie year. I seen him get rim stuffed this year. I seen him get rim stuffed at summer league. I seen him get rim stuffed in his rookie year. You can't be 6'10" getting rim stuffed in a professional game. Like I'm tired of seeing it, and I've seen it at every level from him. I've seen it at North Carolina. He's got a couple good little moves in the post, but he's fluid in it. But other than that, I don't see it. I think he's closer to a 90s big than a 2020s big, maybe even a 70s big. Like he's just not mobile. I don't even think he's that strong now because he had to drop all his weight so he could actually kind of move his feet a little bit, but he still can't. Whatever. But as I was saying, I appreciate you tuning in, and I think I'll talk some more Top Shot on the next pod and maybe even a little UFC because UFC, you got some big fights coming around. Next weekend is Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivak, which is a heavyweight matchup, which should be really good. And then the following week is Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski. And we love Alexander Volkanovski on this stream. Love Volk. So it should be a good fight. Should be a good couple weeks for NBA. A lot of trades coming up soon. We seen one today. Rui Hachimura was traded for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks, though it's 2 second-round picks and a third is the swap. So they have the rights to swap. The Wizards do with the Lakers at any time. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Much love, guys. Much love, stream. And we out.